All right, gentlemen, it is time to talk about the Western Conference in the National Hockey League and how we think they're going to look. First and foremost, yet again, if you haven't listened to last episode, it's about the Eastern Conference. And if you missed it, here are my projections about exactly how it's going to look. So looking at the West, I have the Central going as followed, even with some of the losses. Colorado, then Winnipeg, Chicago, Minnesota, and I am putting them there without Kaprizov, obviously. St. Louis, by the way, Minnesota are up to second with if they can get Kaprizov, but obviously. St. Louis are there. Dallas, Nashville, and Arizona. Then in the Pacific, may be a bit of a shock to you guys. I have Vegas first. That's not the shock, obviously.
Whoa.
I have I think Alex was just looking at. I have LA second, Vancouver third, Edmonton fourth, Seattle 5, Calgary 6, San Jose 7, and Anaheim 8.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Are you telling me you don't have the Edmonton Oilers making the playoffs?
Again, all I have is I have them 1 through 8.
Come on.
I haven't done 1-4, but
They spent the most money. That means they're gonna win.
Yeah, that always works.
all I'm gonna say about the Oilers is they're a lot of goals.
Oh yeah, they are. I'm gonna laugh.
All right, starting at the top, we'll look at the Pacific Division. The Vegas Golden Knights. Laurent Brossoit is the new backup for Robin Lehner. Sorry, is the backup. I don't want to say it like Fleury was the backup. He was not. We're going to talk about Fleury when we get to Chicago.
Okay.
Because actually, no.
Let's just do it now because the disrespect was from Vegas.
Yes. So beside that, Alex Martinez is back. Nolan Patrick is the new face. So is Evgeny Dodonov. No centerman, which is like weird. They must have this internal thing. So the big story is they got rid of Marc-Andre Fleury for nothing. Like this depth. What's the forward's name again?
Like Mikhail
Hakkarainen or something.
Yeah,
Michael Hakkarainen.
He was like a 4th-round pick a few years ago.
And they traded him for the reigning Vezina Trophy winner, who was apparently so upset he may retire. So he found out via Twitter too, which is pretty bad. Apparently he knew there were discussions, but it was broken to him on Twitter, which if you think about it, the Twitter guys knew before Fleury did. The social media people knew because they were doing that dumb eye emoji. The replies to those tweets, by the way, I love how people are calling Chicago out. Anyway, I feel like I would be doing an injustice to this podcast if I did not first ask Daniel, how do you feel about the Vegas Golden Knights completely disrespecting Marc-Andre Fleury?
My boy, what did they do to my boy? It happens again. Like, I don't understand why. I don't know. Like, it's I don't know what Vegas is trying to do with this because it is a lot of the things where a lot of reporters talked about, like James Myrtle talked about it too, where just the way that management has kind of treated players there and the way that you treat someone like Marc-Andre Fleury, where like honestly, where he has gone, it's been all class. Where he is a guy that even if he retires now, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He is a winner. He is someone that I think Vegas, they gave up on him. Like I know he had a bit of those blunders in the playoffs, but again, you can't win if you can't score. And they were bad. Like we talk about the center depth that team has or does not have, like that lack of center depth. And then in addition to that, you also have your wingers underperforming. So I think that it was a whole team effort, kind of like a lack of team effort that was not there. And then to do this to Fleury, man, like really, like the guy gave it his all. Like he waived his no trade clause to go there. He was talking, like he was the biggest guy that I think that he was a major selling point for them, that he was a proven star that wanted to stay in Vegas long term.
He's the franchise.
He is.
Alex, I'm gonna go last here. Alex, how do you feel about this whole situation?
Oh, I think the him finding out on Twitter is extremely disrespectful. Like I'm beyond how does that happen? How do you let that happen? I guess is the question I'd have to go and ask. If I could talk to George McPhee and Kelly McCrimmon, I'd say, how do you let that happen? It's just beyond me and extremely disrespectful. I think the trade itself was, in my eyes, inevitable. I think when they committed 5 years to Robin Lehner last summer and tried to trade Marc-Andre Fleury, to me, that was the sign of they're done with Marc-Andre Fleury. I think the reason he went for nothing, or the AHL player, was because of the salary cap, not because of his actual value. I think he actually has value with 1 year left, but because of the flat cap, they're just who is going to take $7 million for, he's 36 or 37?
It's 36.
36-year-old goalie. Yes, I understand he won the Vezina. It's just this unfortunate, stupid salary cap reality. Want to hear rants about that? Go back to last episode. But those are my thoughts on the trade and the thing that went ensued.
What's funny is the teams who would probably take that cap hit are probably on his protection list,
Yeah, probably.
aka Western Canada. Because boy, the Oilers need a goalie. The value stuff. You took the words out right out of my mouth there. That's it, Alex. Now, when the organization tell Marc-Andre Fleury and his wife that he was going to retire there, now trading Nate Schmidt, the possibility Pacioretty, there have been those whispers that their reputation of that organization in signing there was going to start taking a hit, and what's I think is really going to solidify that for a lot of players now is the fact that you have just gone and literally stabbed in the back a future Hall of Famer, the guy who you're in the lottery your first year, if not for Marc-Andre Fleury. Yes, he was hurt and some guys stepped in, but if you look at when he did play, if he was healthy that entire year, he was going to win the Vezina.
Yeah.
Not to mention how amazing. There were talks, if you guys remember when he was going to the finals there were talks even if Vegas had lost, he could have won the Conn Smythe.
PODGO.
Yeah, he was that good. And it is, and we have had discussions about the business side of things. And you can pull this off with a fourth liner and no one will blink an eye at it. It's not the first time we've heard about players finding out, but to do it to Marc-Andre Fleury, who is unanimously a beloved teammate and so respected throughout the National Hockey League, like one of the best friends of Sidney Crosby. That's going to kill your reputation. That's not something Vegas want to do.
You know, I wonder, I go back to Alan Walsh's tweet with the photo last year, and I know it said Pete DeBoer on it. But, you know, I have to wonder if Pete DeBoer is the wrong guy to necessarily blame here. Looking at this situation, because we all, look at what happened this year. When he switched from Fleury to Lehner, the whole debate came up of DeBoer's handling of goalies, right? In terms of he's more than happy to switch, and if that was my understanding. I wonder if it was more towards management than it was towards the coach, because it was the management who extended Lehner. It was the management who brought in Robin Lehner. It wasn't Pete DeBoer. When you have Robin Lehner and Marc-Andre Fleury, these are two top goalies in the NHL. You have to play one of them, right? And you have to play the one who is hot, and you can make the decision then. But you have two of the two top goalies in your organization at the same time. So it's hard for me to look back and say it was Pete DeBoer. I have more of a feeling that maybe that was more hinted towards Kelly McCrimmon and George McPhee.
Go on out.
No, it's just go ahead, Daniel. I'll go after.
I kind of feel the same way too. It was what we've said before, where when it comes to these decisions, it is a failure on the management side of things. That Pete DeBoer, again, he had to play who was hot, and it didn't make sense for the way Fleury was getting older for him to still play 60, 70 games all the time. And the thing is, I don't know. It's this thing I've talked about before. It's like that hyper competitive that Vegas has with themselves and the market, where they're like, we don't want to be like any other expansion team. So by any means necessary, even if it means deteriorating our reputation for the future with potential players wanting to play here, we got to do whatever it takes to, stay under the hard cap and win at all costs, like, or, at least field a competitive team, because, in a market like Vegas, maybe things are going to dwindle down when all this hype from the expansion and the way they've been able to compete right away, like, tapers off.
I'll say this. I think there still needs to be, I feel like there needs to be three swords in his back. Because at the end of the day, obviously management wanted him out the net. We all know that. Yeah. It was just, it took Fleury not playing well to do that. DeBoer makes those decisions. And it's been in his history from his New Jersey days, apparently. Now, I can't remember exactly, but there was a discussion, I remember, that somebody told Fleury he would get the nod in the playoffs, and he didn't. I remember who that was. I still think there is blame on DeBoer for that.
Sure.
But there is for sure two more blades in there from McCrimmon and why do I always forget McPhee. I think there have to be a couple swords in there. There's a few fatal. When you guys haven't seen Game of Thrones, have you?
No.
Never mind. It's for the watch. Is all I'll say for anyone who's watched Thrones out there. For the watch. Jon Snow, rest in peace. No, he came back, but whatever.
What?
Spoiler alert. Yeah, it was the whole thing. Do you know Kit Harington told a police officer that he was living in the show because he got pulled over because he was speeding too much? He told it on Jimmy Fallon, I think. Kimmel? One of them. They're both the same.
One of the Jimmys.
One of the
Jimothy's.
Jimothy Lilligren. Make the team or, get traded. Anyway, yeah, get some centermen, unless the plane is Nolan Patrick. Wish him in the best, but that's such a weird team. I have LA winning second in the Pacific. Hear me out.
Okay.
Because I sent this to my buddy Ethan. He's like, why is LA so high?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, right, they've got a good mix of young players in there. They've got a really good young goalie in Cal Peterson, a solid backup with some experience in Jonathan Quick, who has a few good games every month, and that's it, is the joke. And you see, I do think the Alex Edler contract's a bit too much, but that's an important player. Remember, Phil Deneau, man, that opens the door for a lot of players to do their thing. And 5-on-5, he's ridiculous. And I wouldn't be surprised if they put him up with another guy they got in Victor Arvidsson. And not to mention, that division is such a gong show. Not to mention, even if he's not that elite defenseman anymore, Drew Doughty is still good. And so is Anze Kopitar.
I think you just complimented Drew Doughty. That might be the first time on podcast history.
Listen, I know we talk a lot, and everyone does, but people got to remember that Drew Doughty is a wicked defenseman.
Yeah, I know.
He didn't deserve that particular Norris Trophy, but he should have had a few. He's an all-star. He's not anymore, but Doughty is good.
Yeah.
I think because he hit the ground running too early, and then it just, that level just wasn't maintained when the Kings started to taper off.
He's an example of I have opinions on stuff, and people don't like it. He's the classic example of you want players to see what they think and have a personality. Yeah. Drew Doughty will be cocky about something because he has a right to, because he's won more than you have, sir, or madam at home. And people don't like it. That's the thing with Doughty.
And he makes $11 million and does not care.
A lot of people made fun of that because he negotiated himself, and it was like, what if there's a lockout? And there wasn't, and he kind of looks like a genius technically, that he made himself the second highest paid defenseman in the league. What? He's a top 5 highest paid player.
Yep. He's
making respect for Drew Doughty. He's a G, man.
Making the big bucks. I really like the Philip Deneau signing, obviously. You have two top 6, your top 6 centers are two extremely they know the defensive side of their position very well. And that's always good. And you said Victor Arvidsson, and you have those younger guys coming up where you can give them the opportunity to play against lesser opposition per se, because you're going to be giving the stronger opposition to Anze Kopitar and Philip Deneau. That's what Montreal did this year, is that they gave Philip Deneau the hardest matchups because he could handle it. And I could see them doing the same thing in LA and allowing those younger guys to succeed. I just want to point out one thing though before I finish. They signed Garrett Sparks yesterday. I just 1 year, 750,000. I just wanted to point that out.
Again, what I've said before with the Kings is, Dano, he solidifies that the middle of the lineup where they have these younger forward guys that, well, you said Adam as well, they could do their thing. They could play their game, and I don't know, there's something where like the defensive side of it may come later for someone like a Quinnen Byfield, where, this is a guy that he plays that nice rough and tough game, but like I think that he could settle in now towards what he needs to be, or Alex Turcotte going from the NCAA to actually coming into the league and adjusting to it, like, and if it means that they have to play on the wing first. And I like where they are at second, like here on this list, because they were patient. They didn't really pay a lot of guys like horrible contracts. Like if the Alex Edler one doesn't work out, it's just for 1 year, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think it's 2, isn't it?
One.
It's 1 year.
Good.
Yeah. And yeah, we'll see how Cal Peterson is in like a full season.
Exactly. So what was it you told me before the start of the season, or before we started recording the first episode, Alex, is they signed Holtby, they signed Virtanen, and was there a third name before
Yes.
what was the
We're
third
doing
one?
Vancouver. Is that?
Yeah, it's
So
Vancouver.
last season, the Vancouver Canucks re-signed Jake Virtanen, signed Braden Holtby, both 2-year contracts, by the way, and traded Nate Schmidt for a 3rd-round pick.
That was it, yeah. And funny enough, they trade Nate Smith for a 3rd rounder. We'll talk about Winnipeg a little later. They bought out Jake Virtanen for a much different reason than they bought out Braden Holtby. By the way, I hope Holtby gets his turtles across the border to Dallas a lot easier than he did from Washington to Vancouver, or Washington. No, it's you know what I mean. So not looking great. And then there's of course the buyout penalties for those.
Yeah.
So if you look at the moves, so I believe on day one it was 10 signings, the most in the league. The Canucks. Yaroslav Halak comes in to be the new backup. Not bad. He comes in with Luke Shen.
Hey, boy.
Tucker Pullman gets a bit of a rich deal. Travis Hamonic gets re-signed.
He's not leaving. I mean, he's not leaving Western Canada.
No, he's not.
Apparently, he was willing to this time.
Oh.
Yeah, and then the Canucks were like, I'll give you money. It's like,
Yeah.
OEL, as we know, was already coming up front. Have they signed Jason Dickinson yet? I don't believe they have.
Nope.
Okay, and I know there's other guy. We're gonna get to him in a second. No worry.
Okay.
Connor Garland gets a 5-year deal. All of this plugging some holes around the lineup, while Quentin Hughes and Elias Pettersson are still unsigned, and they have $14 million in cap space to get it done. I just can't believe for back-to-back off seasons, the Canucks have once again completely mixed up their priorities again.
I'd like to reiterate, the Seattle Kraken have $16 million in cap space and have all their picks next year. That's all I'll say.
Offer sheet, Pettersson. Offer sheet, Pettersson.
I was
do it.
surprised Connor Garland, the contract, like that came pretty quick compared to like what they were going to do with like Pettersson and Hughes. Like I really think like that was going to be finished for like when I saw those trades happening. I'm like, all right, yeah. So they got this cap space, and then like the Connor Garland one, I didn't think like he's not the centerpiece of it. Like he's someone that I think they could have waited a bit longer into the summer to see like, hey, what do we have left and what we can do with this contract.
I don't mind that deal though.
It's not bad. It's just like it's like you ate your fries before you ate the entire burger.
That's fair. That's a fair point.
If you look at it too, it's just like I don't hate the Garland deal either.
No.
It's maybe a little rich on the AAV, but
Sure.
but like that's nitpicking, right? It's just that with every other deal there, you're like, Jim, what does Adam Wild always says? Put the phone down. And he didn't do it. It's like, sign your important. So what's funny is they were We're back to that word again.
Preliminary?
Yes.
Okay.
Discussions right before the COVID situation broke out in Vancouver. That was around the trade deadline, wasn't it? It was when they started discussions with Pedersen and Hughes.
Yeah.
July 29th we're at now, and they're not done.
Are they discussing? Like, I haven't really heard an update about these contracts.
That's the issue. What were the Canucks doing when the season ended?
Who were you calling yesterday? My first
Arizona.
phone call would have been to their agents. I think it's Pat Brisson.
Whoever it is, it's
I
the same
believe it's the same guy. I would have been like, okay, let's get these deals done now and let's figure this out. Don't BS me. Instead, Jim Benning picked up the phone and spent $1 bajillion for like, I whatever reason. Like, did their defense core get any better?
I think so.
I mean, no, like other than OEL, you traded Nate Schmidt. You essentially brought back Travis Hamonic. So you replace Nate Schmidt with Tucker Poolman?
Let me put it to you like this, Alec. No, they replaced Jack Rathbone. I think it took a single step forward, our favorite term. Here's what's really frustrating, right? Is what the Canucks did was for the second straight offseason prioritized acquiring Oliver Ekman-Larsson. That's what held them up last year. I just think at some point you just need to have your eggs in an order here. And the Canucks didn't do that. I think, Daniel, you said it perfectly. We should have just capped it off there. The fries before the burger. It needs to be like a sprinkle of the good first, maybe some good fries, crispy fries.
Balance it out. It's weird. It's like we're not going to give the money to these guys just yet, but let's throw the money over here.
By the way, if you don't put a lot of salt on your fries, they're not good.
No.
I just big thing. When people are like, something's too salty. Okay, without salt, people just complain about man, salt makes everything good. Yeah, that's how it works. It opens your taste bud, people. Oh, I taste salt. Yeah, it helps. Don't ask why I'm complaining about salt. There's a certain listener of this show who doesn't like when I put salt on anything. And it's like, you need to open the flavor, seasoning your food.
Can I take a guess at who it is?
Maybe my mother.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have a girlfriend, Alex.
That's
I wish.
okay. Neither do I.
Cook her a steak dinner? No.
You're a catch. Don't do this.
very
Don't do this. Don't do this right now. Don't do
I
this
know.
right
It
now.
got so
Do this
dark.
right
Don't do this right
Okay,
now.
who's next? Who's next? Who's next? Who's next?
What's
Who's
happening
next?
here?
It's okay. Who's next?
No, what's happening here?
These late night podcasts.
I think I know who's next. Let's just move on to it.
It's 8. Oh my God, it's 8. What just happened?
I don't know. We've been talking for a couple
We're
hours.
talking about salt, and then
Alex, can you just cut that part out, please?
Yeah.
Okay. If it's still in, it's funny.
We'll see.
Edmonton.
Finally.
Oh, Alex has. I can't say how many times Alex has made fun of the Oilers.
champions of the offseason.
Not
Losers of the offseason.
so. Can I just say before we rip into the Oilers and I give
go
some?
ahead.
It's at the end, so I'll just quickly lay them out what's happened here. So, for the second straight year, the Oilers have completely lost out on the goalie market. They traded Ethan Bear for Warren Fogle. I don't think that's a terrible deal. It's just in the same time of losing of losing Caleb Jones. You're like, So now the Oilers' D-core is a mix of Darnell Nurse, pretty good. Evan Bouchard, good young player. Tyson Barrie gets extended. He found a role there. I'm happy for him. But here's the problem. There's also a mix of Chris Russell, and we know how coaches hate young players and will put the vets in, so goodbye, Evan Bouchard. 38-year-old Duncan Keith, and Cody Ceci, who gets a 4-year deal after a fine year in Pittsburgh.
I just laughed oh my God.
Oh, hold on. By the way, the Oilers apparently on Cap Friendly have $1.2 million to sign Yamamoto and Warren Fogle.
Cheers.
Okay, so before we get going here, as Alex takes a drink to prepare for what he's about to say, I just want to say this.
Yeah.
I'm really happy for Cody Ceci and Tyson Barrie
Sure.
because you got to think those guys when they were in Toronto could not go on Twitter because
100%.
like those guys went through the ringer. So I am happy that they have now acquired generational wealth. So whatever we're about to say, we don't want to rip the players.
No.
It's just Ken Holland. So if I gave Daniel the floor with Marc-Andre Fleury, I think it's time to give Alex the floor with the Edmonton Oilers.
To be clear, they also can't go on Twitter now. Edmonton Twitter is pretty bad. It's brutal.
Yep.
There are two positive. There's one positive of their offseason, and that's actually getting Connor McDavid wingers and Zach Hyman. Zach Hyman, who I love Zach Hyman, but that doesn't mean I have to be a fan of the length of the contract. And then Warren Fogle, who they traded Ethan Bear for. I'm not a fan of the trade, fan of that they brought in another winger. Let's get to the negatives, which is all of it, except that. So I understand Mike Smith had a good season, but the Oilers got swept in the first round, and just brought back Mikko Koskinen and Mike Smith. How do you and you said they lost out. They didn't even try to swing. They aren't buying out Mikko Koskinen.
Apparently they were trying to get Kemper, but they obviously were outbid.
They were out because they would have to take on Mikko Koskinen. And Arizona doesn't want to take back Mikko Koskinen, who has a base salary of $4.5 million.
How many more years does he have?
This is his last year.
Okay.
So you're bringing back that tandem, which worked in the regular season, disaster in the playoffs. We know it seems like Oscar Klefbom's not coming back.
Yeah.
It seems that's the route we're hearing. Your top four is in defense is Darnell Nurse, who is actually really good, and apparently they're talking about an extension. Duncan Keith, 38 years old. Tyson Barrie, who can't play actual defense, so is gifted offensively, and Cody Ceci, who needs to be sheltered. And anyone can say, well, Toronto gave him $4.5 million. Go back and listen to the episode. I didn't love that either.
Oh, that qualifying offer? Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't know what that was.
They had to.
Yeah.
The Edmonton Oilers did not have to do the deal they just signed.
They also didn't have to give him 4 years. Let someone else make the mistake of giving him 4 years. You know how ridiculous that is? He will be 31 when that contract, or 32 maybe, when that contract ends. Do you know how insane that is? The thing with Cody Ceci is you can't play him in top 4 minutes. Anyone who watched the Toronto Maple Leafs 2 years ago knew that. You have to play him sheltered minutes, which I assume Pittsburgh did, which why people in Pittsburgh were complimenting him.
Yeah, because it worked there because they had those the way Pittsburgh works, the 3 defensive pairings, they're actually all quality ones where you don't have to shelter too many people on all the time with this.
And they could play defense. I was reading up on the Oilers a couple nights ago. When they lost Adam Larson, there was this big thing because obviously Larson and Hall, and it seemed like last season, Adam Larson took a leap defensively. He was their best defenseman alongside Darnell Nurse. And then you just lost him. So your replacement is now Cody Ceci.
That's rough.
You're going to play Cody Ceci on the third pairing at $3.25 million? That's ridiculous. That's so bad.
So you may be wondering, why are they ahead of Seattle on my list? And Calgary on my list? And San Jose and Anaheim?
Yep.
We'll find that out later. So continue to listen, even if we sound extremely exhausted.
Or talk about random things.
Well, it's 2 players. It's Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl.
And friends.
What's this report that I think it was Ryan Rashog said if there's not a significant deep playoff run next year, that McDavid and Draisaitl could finally say, guys. Oh, they also bought out James Neal, by the way. What a shame. The real deal. Whippy zone. Miss him.
Oh no.
I remember that was instantly a mistake. I always forget how good he was in Vegas. By the way, talk about another former Pittsburgh Penguin. We'll look now towards the. Oh, and quickly. Again, I really like Warren Fogle as a depth guy for them too. That's a massive improvement because now Josh Archibald will be a fourth liner.
Yay.
Yes. It's really funny. Alex sent me that picture of. We sent the picture of Zach Hyman in an Oilers jersey into our group chat, and I thought it was Josh Archibald for a second. They kind of look alike. But yeah. Also Hyman, yeah. The last 3 years, 4 years could be garbage. First 3 years, you stick it with McDavid, boy.
Exactly.
And they're gonna
stay healthy.
Yeah, stay healthy. Yeah.
I think Craig Button said McDavid would get 150 points with Hyman next to him, which is funny because I'm pretty sure that's actually what he was on pace for this year.
And everyone ripped it apart and were like, "Oh, that's less than what he was projecting." It's like, shut up! You're just missing the point. God, everyone takes something. The internet is terrible for that kind of stuff. They take everything so seriously. It's like, oh, so Friedman said there. Who's your source? That's not that. Just. By the way,
your source?
Hyman should be okay, but the problem is he's now playing Alex Edler 4 times a year instead of just 1.
Oh, jeez.
That's a tough one.
I have breaking news.
Okay, so before you give us this breaking news, if it's Matthew Perreault, I'm going to be really mad at you.
It's not.
Is it who the Raptors drafted?
Yes.
Okay, who is it?
The Toronto Raptors went off the board by only 1 pick.
Okay.
Only 1 selection. They selected Scotty Barnes instead of Jalen Suggs. So they went for the small forward over the point guard.
And what does that mean?
So, yeah, be quick with this because it's been going a while. So Jalen Suggs was supposed to be like the next point guard because Kyle Lowry's leaving.
Yeah.
And then that was like, oh, that was the automatic pick because like this is a very top-heavy draft in the top 5 or top 6. But they got Scotty Barnes already, who they believe he may have a bigger, I guess a bigger projection to be. What's that word again? Bigger. I cannot think right now.
Ceiling?
Upside, yeah. Upside or ceiling, yeah. And people are kind of mad about it right now because they're like, really? You went for a guy like he may take a while to develop, but we'll see how it goes.
I trust Masai.
I'm looking at I saw good old Gavin Axelrod just tweet, gonna hold off my Raptors draft and my draft takes and trust in Bobby and Masai. Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing the people like our friends around in the basketball world are looking very shocked right now. So okay, good. Seattle, they swoop in and pick up Philip Grubauer. That was pretty yucky, eh? To be Chris Drieger's partner in net, pretty decent combo there. Of course, that gets him to then flip Vitek Vanacek. They also signed Alex Venberg to a 4-year deal. A 3-year deal, 4.5 AAV. A little high, but centerman. They also another big deal, which I thought was pretty big. A 5-year deal, 5.5 AAV for Jaden Schwartz. Looking now, how do we feel about Seattle after the first few days of free agency?
I just like to say the Philip Grubauer quotes. Just they keep on getting better.
Let's hear it.
When they asked him about, you didn't resign in Colorado, and then he's like, Colorado had their chance, they had their time.
That's fair.
Oh my God, that's cold-blooded.
I wonder what the offers were. If that's the quote, and we obviously heard about the Landeskog offers at the beginning. I wonder what they were offering Grubauer.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
You see the video Landeskog put up?
No.
He did. You know the scene in Wolf on Wall Street when Leo's like, "I'm not leaving.
Oh.
I'm not leaving." And
Yeah.
Landeskog did that, and actually his face is over Leo, and then
funny.
you get like McKinnon and Rantanen. We were all looking to see if there was accidentally Philip Grubauer on the pictures. He was not there.
Oh,
so they knew it.
He came out today. So yeah, but it was really funny. It was like, "This is my kid. We're gonna need a wrecking ball to take me out." And you're like, "Well, if they didn't give you enough money, you were gonna leave anyway." But we won't mention that, will we? But yeah, Seattle. Now, how do they look? Good, right?
Oh yeah, sorry, I thought Daniel was gonna go.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I really like the Grubauer and Jaden Schwartz signings in terms of money. I think bringing in what
No, I think it's a bit too much money.
Schwartz was too much money.
The injury history scares me. Like I know he can be a great shooter. It's just the consistency isn't there for me.
I just think he fits the winger. Like there's no huge, big quality wingers in terms of star wingers, but I think he fits the around the wingers that they already have in their top six, lining up against with Eberle, Gourde, and Donskoy, and of course Tanev as well. With Grubauer, I like Drieger and Vanacek, but bringing in Philip Grubauer, what to me that is a sign of this. Like that's a really good tandem, Grubauer and Drieger. Grubauer this year has really proved himself. Over the last few years, there was always those playoff questions, but he did really push this year. Chris Drieger had a really good year as well. The one I'm not the biggest fan of, I guess, in terms of money, is the Alex Wenberg signing. He had a really good year in Florida, from what I've heard.
Yeah.
It's just he's going to be your second line center. Honestly, he might be even your first line center.
Yeah, with Gourde being hurt, like he's a good two-way guy. That was the guy I was hoping Montreal might look at, but like there's just remember he had that one great year in Columbus, and it was like there it is.
Yeah,
and this might be the second of his 3 contracts. But premium centerman. It was
rich.
Yeah, no, I have the same thing with both of them. Like a little bit too much money. But yeah, it's weird. I'm also super confused about how these expansion trades work, that they were able to trade Vanacek. I thought Friedman made it clear it was a year thing, or I don't know. It seems to be the rules around what was happening with Price compared to Vanacek were much different. Yeah,
it was the cap retention, because the idea was that they would retain salary on Price, and that is cap circumvention apparently. That's what I've read.
And I'll remind the listeners that this is the league where Seabrook was just dealt in his dead contract and all that. I hate this. Oh, by the way, Shea Weber's not official in LTIR yet. Why? Oh, because they think he's faking it. But, Brent Seabrook's contract. Because the standards are obviously fair towards the entire league, for a league that claims that everyone's on the level playing field, even though your rules are completely different,
Isn't Seabrook actually injured? Didn't he just have surgery? I thought that's right.
So here's the problem. He retired, except it's not official.
He didn't do the paperwork.
Retired because he was helping out the Blackhawks. Yeah. That he's done. He's not playing again.
Yeah.
See what the issue is, and like the double standards throughout the league. I'm such a bitter Habs fan. It's true though. Calgary, they are okay. The Blake Coleman deal was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I'm not going to lie to you guys. They trade for Don Vlader. I know it's Vladar. It sounds like Vader. I don't care. And Nikita Zadorov, which is kind of like I'm sorry, but the Flames are just spinning their wheels to me. I like Coleman, but I'm not sold on the Flames. I'm not. If they go back and they have Monahan and Goudreau again, I can't see them doing anything. I'm fed up with the Flames.
Yeah, I don't think anything they've done. They've done the Blake Coleman signing, but it hasn't been a franchise, not necessarily franchise changing, but an impact move. Like, sure, throw Blake Coleman in there. He was really good on Tampa Bay's third line. I bet if you give him some top 6 minutes, he will also succeed there with the quality of players he has. Like, imagine a line of like Kachuk, Monahan, Coleman, for example, or Kachuk, Lindholm, Coleman. Like, I think that's a line that could really succeed, but it's the rest of them. And again, I bring this up again, the point of when Matthew Kachuk, who is the epitome of playoff hockey, is the only one who everyone seems to have an issue with. To me, that is a extremely scary sign.
Yep.
There's a meme I saw where the one where like there's like a huge gash on something, like on like a swimming pool.
Yeah.
And then they put a band-aid on it, just like the one thing, and then like that's with Blake Coleman.
Yeah.
That he fits a need. He really does. He fits a need for them. But again, like what I've said before, like with Barclay Goodrow going to the Rangers, it's just like you fit a need when there is an established core there that could actually win. That you're a supplementary guy. You're not there to kind of like be a surge that fixes a lot of the problems they have there.
AKA he tries.
Like who's going to be their captain? Like I don't trust any of the established guys there to be captain.
Matthew Tkachuk.
I don't know. Remember when he said like he told the city you used to love me?
Yeah, I mean, like half the team doesn't apparently, and I think that's so dumb. I really do.
Mangiapane.
I actually would love that one.
Andrew Mangiapane.
Or
He won a gold medal.
Dylan Dubé.
Proven winner.
Dylan Dubé, Captain Canada.
There you go.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, San Jose. Oh, well, what did the Sharks do? Well, they brought the Merkley brothers together after getting Nick from New Jersey, and James Reimer is back.
Yeah.
They brought back Nick Bedino as well.
They did.
Back? When was he a Shark?
He was drafted by them, and then he got traded to Anaheim.
Only you know that. Man, that is incredible knowledge. In 2007.
He was traded for noted Canadiens legend, Travis Moen.
That's a name. Puncher on that 2014 team. Wow, Travis Moen, what a guy. So it's really funny. A couple of years ago, when you think it was, what am I saying? A couple of years, it was a few months of Reimer and Jones, and now I don't think that's a terrible tandem of Reimer and Aiden Hill. By the way, now.
Yeah, I think to me it looks like since those Florida times for Reimer, he's kind of like, we'll call it rebuilding himself or rebuilding his reputation. And I mean, him in Carolina, he seemed to do quite well. So I don't see the issue with that tandem. It's better than anything Martin Jones. Is pretty much the way I'd look at it.
Oh, Martin Jones, what a poor guy. So,
but see it this way.
Yeah.
The last time James Reimer was on the Sharks, they went to the finals.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So Marc-Edouard Vlasic will bounce back too.
He will.
So the Ducks extended Ryan Getzlaf.
That's it. We don't get the next night. No, I'm kidding.
Daniel, I was going to do a dramatic pause.
I'm sorry.
But you've just stepped on it. You've crumpled it up.
It's the late night adrenaline.
Adrenaline?
I get like a second wind sometimes if like.
Don't you stay up till 4 a.m. watching movies?
I've actually like cut that down because I'm trying to. This is actually a really random thing. I'm a bit on like not a health grind kind of thing, but I'm trying to be healthier.
Yeah. With
a lot of things, and I've realized that when you're working full time, you actually need to sleep.
Yes, that is true.
Like
I can tell you that.
Yeah, I don't know how I did it during school. I know that wasn't even just like 2 months ago, but I just don't know how I stayed up all night. So
basically, Daniel has done more for himself for the past few days than the Ducks have done since the trade deadline.
Pretty much.
They have done nothing.
And they're in on Jack Eichel.
That made me laugh. I applauded them for getting Hayden Fleury at the deadline, and then they just lost them in the expansion draft.
We're all excited for Hayden Fleury trivia tribute.
Oh my god! I can't believe they actually scheduled a day that it's gonna be they're gonna have a tribute night for him.
He played like 13 games.
Yeah.
Oh, we have to watch that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gonna be beautiful. All right. Sorry, Anaheim, but you didn't do anything.
They brought back Ryan Getzlaf to play third line center or something.
Do you want to start from the top or the bottom of the Central?
The top.
Arizona, no.
Okay.
Making a surprise run.
Wow.
Marian Hossa's coming back.
Wow.
Him and Datsuk are all coming back at the same time. No, so Gabriel Landeskog ends up staying in Colorado, $7 million, 8 years. Grubauer walks, and as a result, the Avs kind of have to make a trade. They get rid of their first next year, a conditional 2024 third, and Connor Timmins. Not Trevor, obviously. Arizona retained $1 million of the cap hit for Darcy Kemper.
Yeah.
I love Darcy Kemper. It's just you got to stay healthy. But then again, that's the story of half the Colorado Avalanche. But they have taken a hit in the depth department, obviously, losing Donskoy in the expansion draft and Pierre-Edmund Bellemare for free agency. They have young guys, but I still see them winning the division. But we still have moved. Like I'm really predicting that they're going to get Thomas Tatar. By the way, I'm just kind of noticing that when we started recording both these episodes, it was light outside, and I can see in the window behind me the sun has set.
And you could, yeah. It's just gotten extremely dark, and I don't want to turn on the light.
Daniel's in Australia.
I know it's so sunny. I have my ring light on. And
But thoughts on the Abs?
Yeah, I'm interested to see another move that they make, because I do think maybe they did lose Brandon Saad as well. So again, you brought up Thomas Tatar. That would be an interesting replacement. I'm happy that the Landeskog thing got resolved. To me, what happened there was something similar to that happened that Jamie McLennan brought up a couple years ago about sometimes with contract negotiations, they get to a point where it's really bad, and then a couple of days later, it's all gone. And that seems to be what happened here. And I mean, listen, he probably could have got more if on the open market. So for him to take 7, I always wonder what changed, or if it was just a negotiation tactic. And I like the Darcy Kemper, Pavel Francouz tandem. It actually seems like for once there wasn't a winner of a trade.
yeah, it was pretty even. I think so too. That Connor Timmins is one of those guys that, he needs to actually leave Colorado to get a chance. And, there's going to be a lot of minutes up for grabs in Arizona. So I'm happy for the guy. Great World Junior legend. And I think for Colorado, I like what you mentioned, Adam, that a lot of because they've been drafting like crazy, Colorado, that they have so many wingers that could just come in and fill that depth. Like more so sometimes than I think than Tampa Bay at this moment. Like we talk about Alex Newhook, but we haven't talked about a lot about Martin Kaut or a Shane Bowers, who these guys could fill in the top 9.
Logan O'Connor.
Pretty nice there. Yeah, Logan O'Connor.
Are you on Twitter, Daniel, by any chance?
No, why?
6 minutes ago. Wow, this is a surprise. I really thought Albert. Who is this player that you're speaking of?
It's he's actually supposed to go pretty high, but like he was supposed to like I think like Donald got the joke, but because the Raptors, I think Donald really got the joke, because what happens is the Raptors have this history from before, not so much with Masai a little bit, where they kind of really go off the board with their picks. And this guy was like teased to maybe go pretty high because he's like one of those European picks. He's like a Turkish guy, and people were scared that like they're gonna reach for him like crazy because Masai's done that before. Like I remember when he picked Bruno Caboclo, 20th overall, and then people were like they didn't even rank him. He was like the was like Igor Chinnikov of that draft.
Oof.
That's the guy Columbus took last year, right?
Yeah, when no one had an analysis on him. Where like, what did Ryan Burke? He's like, I think he's a winger.
Yeah. Friedman. I swear, all of these guys they were frozen. My hair's looking like Friedman's right now, to be honest with you. What a man. The Winnipeg Jets. I have them second in the Central. They have completely reworked their D. To look at you, Tucker Pullman is out. Brandon Dillon is in. Nate Schmidt is in. Paul Stastny is going to stay for another year. And what makes me really happy is I think Eric Comrie is finally going to get a shot as their backup because Bressois is gone and there's no one else.
Yeah, that's fair. I like that. I like what they've done with their defense. I'm really interested to see what they do with their forward core, because they only have 8 forwards signed and they have Andrew Cops and RFA. So if they can really fill out that bottom 6, they can do some damage in their division.
I think that's the thing too, where we talked about how they were in the playoffs, where, you take out Mark Scheifele, or on his own fault, and you have those other guys that weren't performing against the Canadians. And what I see what they do now is with their defense and with their forwards, hopefully when everyone's resigned, is they fill in the gaps. Like they're going to be a consistent team again, where they could they could get something done and they don't have to really rely on the top guys to do everything all the time. And yeah, give Connor Hellebuck a break. Like,
Yeah.
I agree. Why are you laughing, Daniel?
no, because I was gonna say Eric Comrie, but I'm like, I have a feeling they're gonna put him on waivers again or somehow.
No, don't do that.
No.
Because like, remember when like he was supposed to play and then he came back to like this is his third time in Winnipeg.
Yes, it is. He's the wild ride, that guy. Looking at Chicago, this team,
I don't want to look at them.
no one does, because they're no, Adam, you can't say that. You can't say what you're thinking. Look in the mentions of some of their eyeball tweets, and it's oh boy, Chicago. They have brought in Tyler Johnson. They have brought in Seth Jones. Some big ads by Stan Bowman. Perhaps the biggest addition for the Blackhawks is Marc-Andre Fleury. However, there's word he may not even play, and he might retire. I just think Chicago, like if there's common knowledge that Fleury doesn't want to play anywhere else, and the only team that could probably convince him otherwise is Pittsburgh. Yeah. Not to mention, with all the white noise, I don't know if white noise is the proper term to use there, with everything around Chicago right now, if you're Marc-Andre Fleury, why the heck would you willingly go there right now? Not to mention, like your family had been, I'm assuming they're in Vegas. You're at this point in your career where like it's the later times here. And then Bowman's like saying like we got him because we want to play him. You weren't on his no trade list, and you can just leave. He can do what he wants. I don't get Chicago making this deal because you clearly didn't do your research. Like I still think that they're making the playoffs just because the rest of this division there are question marks, and if a certain player resigns in Minnesota, I then put them under Minnesota. But still, I don't like Chicago. I don't like what they're doing. They've overpaid for guys. I don't think they needed Tyler Johnson. They have centerman. It's just they're like, imagine, I'm sorry I'm ranting a bit here, but imagine not qualifying or looking at bringing back Pius Suter because you want to bring in Tyler Johnson to get rid of that dead LTI money, which you kind of need because you don't have much cap space because you gave Seth Jones $9.5 million.
It's again what Chicago's been doing the last 2 years. They're just they don't want to admit a real legitimate rebuild.
But and they already did that.
They're throwing things. The thing that's weird. It's like, okay, what we've learned this year is don't trust Stan Bowman. And a big thing with this, and I'm just going to keep it on the trades, right? I'm going to just keep it with the trades. I'm going to keep it with the signings right now in terms of what I'm talking about. And you don't go through a rebuild and you do these type of trades and you assume that things are going to be okay like this. Like, for example, like if you want to do a real rebuild, why didn't you entertain anything for Patrick Kane? Or why are you still trying to add to a core that just isn't really there anymore?
You have to decide, are you going to be the Pittsburgh Penguins, who any year they have Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin, they're going to go for it? Or are you going to be like the Detroit Red Wings, who literally tore it down? What they did here was like the Detroit Red Wings under Ken Holland, who scratched and clawed into the playoffs. And someone texted me saying they sent me a tweet about Fleury, and he goes, Fleury, Jones, Johnson. What does that mean? I go, nothing. Like, great, they might make the playoffs, but are they going to do damage? I don't think so.
Saying that they're as good as Vegas and Tampa now?
No, get out of here.
Who's that, Tracos?
Yeah, the one who said that you need to. Why do adults wear helmets while riding a bicycle? Yeah, because then you have thoughts like this.
Wait,
this was like,
yeah,
he tweeted it.
Oh my gosh,
I don't know what to say to that. Some people, man. I just don't think and they're trying to look at trading Calvin DeHaan apparently.
Cool.
Yeah, just you're just a bunch of. I just don't like them. I don't like Chicago. Minnesota. So they signed Dmitry Kulikov. That sort of fills a need. Maybe not the exact same type of player, but they needed to fill in some defensive stuff now that Carson Soucy is gone from expansion. But the big story is Kirill Kaprizov and Kevin Fiala have not been signed yet. They need new deals, and this is a much shorter off season than most years. Daniel, are you nervous for the Wild right now? Because I kind of am.
Yeah, like again, like we knew that, and I've said this before, where they really had to have a bit of a like they really had to hit on their free agent targets, and I don't think they did it. They gave Alex Goligoski. I know it's only for 1 year, but these are the type of deals you're gonna have to do when you're still have to look at, like, you know, the next 2 to 4 years, what your cap situation is going to look like. They gave him $5 million for 1 year, and he is what, 35, 36. He's a guy that he's probably going to do pretty well, but he is a local Minnesota boy. But again, like, without a Kaprizov or Fiala there to really anchor that young forward core, I'm not. It's unclear still what this team is going to look like, what they're going to be like. Or the big disappointing thing for me is because of these buyouts, because they weren't really able to, like, because there was still value on Ryan Suter. Like Michael Russo even mentioned it, that maybe, just maybe, you could have found a trade instead for Suter, instead of buying them both out at the same time, because the Parise one, like, that was going to happen regardless. So I think at this point, I'm just a bit disappointed in them because they didn't get the deals done yet with their RFAs, and they're not really building on any momentum they had from the year before.
A couple things. I mean, he clearly had value. He just got a 4-year deal. But question number one is, he had a no move clause, right? So, and I know they never talked to him, but asked him about it. So that would have kind of, asking him at least would have been the good thing. But would he have moved? And then my second question is, on day one, on opening night, do you think the Minnesota Wild will have Kevin Fiala and Kirill Kaprizov?
I think they might have one or the other. I don't know. Well, Kaprizov is just, I don't. They're like, he's playing hardball because he doesn't want that long extension. He still wants the 2 or 3 years.
Wouldn't that benefit the Wild though? Like, yes, he's gonna get paid afterwards, but you go through the 2 to 3 years, which is exactly the timeline of dealing with $14 million of dead cap space. I don't
on the free agency though.
Yeah, they don't want him to walk.
Is he going to be a UFA in 3 years? Is that what the
Yeah.
deal is?
That's
I
why,
guess.
because like, he technically only, because remember his first year, because he only signed a 2-year entry level,
Right,
and they got
right.
burned during the
Correct.
bubble,
Yeah.
and then he only had this 1 year. So technically, like, this is the only window they really have.
Right. Yeah,
For
no,
him.
I get it.
Yeah.
Then I get it from that standpoint.
Right. Looking at the St. Louis Blues, Schwartz, Blake, Gone, Buchnevich gets a nice little deal, as well as Brandon Saad. Brandon Saad, I really like that. So it's a few years longer than the Hoffman deal that Montreal did. So what's funny about that is, apparently this is from a Jeremy Rutherford article in The Athletic about Tarasenko, which we'll talk about in a second here. Apparently Montreal outbid the Blues when it came to Hoffman, but they basically give that deal with a few more years to Brandon Saad. Now, knowing that Landeskog wasn't hitting the market, I kind of thought, and I told you guys, like, I think Saad is that sort of natural fit there. And if they're losing, well, obviously we know, like, Blay and that is gone. They're maybe going to look Tarasenko in. I don't hate bringing Saad and now Buchnevich in, like a nice skill guy, good, like, physical puck retrieval. But the big issue is Tarasenko is still a Blue, and this is a little snippet from Jeremy Rutherford's article. So why hasn't Tarasenko been traded? The source says Armstrong has miscalculated the situation, asking for too much in return. There were once 4 teams interested in Tarasenko, and there are still at least 2, but the options are dwindling after Wednesday's signings around the league. What did you think you were going to get for him?
You were going to get positive, like, he has positive value. I get he's coming off of shoulder surgery, and there's issues. My understanding, there's issues with the shoulder and how they treated it. It is what I got from Tarasenko, but it's Vladimir Tarasenko. I get he has 2 years left under contract at 7.5, but Vladimir Tarasenko, if you put him in, not even just in the right situation, he can score goals.
Yeah.
Like it. Right situation.
Right. I was going to say it, but then I didn't. I was going to say it. I didn't. I didn't. Though.
again, like he's still an elite guy. I know that the past few years have been riddled with injuries, and everything, and I know it's unfortunate it hasn't worked out for St. Louis, but it's unclear what they can get for him. Maybe if they retain salary, they can increase the asset value. But at this point, I don't see them because there's no leverage whatsoever for St. Louis. They're really like their backs against the wall with this. That I don't know. I know this is not going to be fair value for him, but it's going to be like a second and a third, and they retain part of the salary.
Wow.
That this is my prediction at this point because I think St. Louis is like we're going to get what we can.
I think they were begging for Seattle to, like, not begging to Seattle, but in their heads, I think they were begging Seattle to take Vladimir Tarasenko.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, it just sucks.
I'm a big fan of the guy. I hope wherever he goes, like right situation, as you guys say. The Dallas Stars can't score goals. So instead, they bring in Braden Holtby because we don't know what's quite going on with Ben Bishop's health. And they give Ryan Suter 4 years.
Okay. What's with them in 2003 draft, by the way? Like Corey Perry, Joe Pavelski, Ryan Suter.
I love
Jim
it.
knows an old hockey man, I guess.
That is true. That is true.
Am I missing anybody else? Well, they had Louis Eriksson when they traded him.
He was good as a star, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like up front, they haven't really changed much. They added Luke Glendening.
Have some respect. The depth centerman, Luke Glendening.
I really wanted him on the Leafs, though.
Yeah, so did Mike Babcock. Yeah. And then they gave, I don't understand why they gave Ryan Suter 4 years.
This is like Vincent LeCavalier. Like the Lightning bought him out after like an off year, and then the Flyers still gave him a 4-year deal.
And then did they buy him out too?
They traded him to LA with the promise that he's going to retire.
This league sucks. I'll say it again. This league sucks.
The Kings have been around some really sketchy contracts over the Jared Stoll, Mark Richards. The Kings have gotten away with a lot.
I don't even think the Ryan Suter stuff is the best part. I think it's Jani Hakanpää who came to play with his Finnish counterparts.
And a bidding war for Jan.
In a bidding war.
He's a right-hand shot.
Woo. Right defenseman in this league. Like honestly, if you're a parent and you've got a kid who's going to make it into the National Hockey League,
Yeah.
and like listen, you're going to do what you can. Like tell them, like teach them. Don't be a crazy parent because you know they're out there. I can tell you some stories about hockey parents that they're
So can I.
worse than Paul Marner.
No way.
Much worse.
Crazy.
No, he's.
How did you know? How did you know?
No, like, because here's the thing. If you look at those videos of Paul Marner, and if you've been to any sort of, like, AAA tournament or something, like,
Brutal.
that's, like, normal. Like, it gets bad, right? But, like, if I'm a parent, I'm going to teach my son to take face-offs, or I'm going to make him be a right-handed shot defenseman. Because he will guaranteed make millions of dollars. It doesn't matter how good he is, how bad he is. As long as he makes the show and you can shoot right or you can take a face-off, you will have a spot for life in the National Hockey League.
What if you can do both? Boom.
And you Dustin Buffalo. No. The first hybrid forward any other night. They need a goal. He goes to be the centerman. He needs to hold the lead. He plays D.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've always wanted to try that. Like, did no one just think one day, like if you're winning like 6-0, like let's throw Carlson on the wing?
I
You know what I mean? Like, we're doing well here. PK, you want to take a draw or something?
Oh, Scotty Bowman used to do that.
Really?
Sergei Fedorov used to play defense.
Seriously?
Yeah, because apparently like, he was that good. Like, he's such a great two-way guy that, why not try it?
He won't retire his number because Detroit are lame.
Why not?
What if he left? Oh my god!
Because he left. He left for the Mighty Ducks after they swept the Red Wings.
Yeah, so he did a lot. Just retire his number. He did
And,
it.
he always had contract disputes every time like there was like his deal was up.
Yeah, well, they would have hated. What's his name?
Which guy?
The agent. Darren Ferris.
Darren
Yeah.
Ferris, yeah.
Victor Mette's an RFA, by the way, Ottawa. Have fun.
Yeah. Good luck.
Okay.
Who's
Nashville. Granlund gets a 4-year deal, $5 million AAV. He
I
made
don't get
like
it.
2 last year. Yo, I think, what did you tweet out, Daniel? Fiala was looking at this like, yes.
Yeah, I guess. Oh my god.
Please, no, the precious. No more Ellis, no more Pecorine, but to be UC Saros' backup goaltender, they do bring in big save Dave Rittich.
Cool. I guess like I don't know what to say about they didn't really improve and they got worse. They got worse defensively. Like Mike can say all he wants about David Ferentz, but like to replace Ryan Ellis is an interesting conundrum to have, and good luck.
Shall we finish off with the Arizona Coyotes then?
Yeah,
Let me check their cap friendly again. I just want to
No,
see.
I have
Oh,
that.
you got it. Thank you.
So-
Oh, you have the Kachina.
I love that they have the just keep the Kachina. Like, can we just like take a second and see? Do you know what? I know how we're gonna end the show. I'll screen share again in a second. Just give me a second here, guys. Talk amongst yourselves for a second.
So Daniel, what do you think of the Scotty Barnes?
It was a bit
how-
off the. It was
How
like
off the board?
like because it's always different in basketball, right? Like it's always so top heavy.
Yeah.
So like even going off the board by like 3 or 4 selections, that's pretty big still.
Fair. I guess
And-
because there's only 60 selections.
And I think it's just people are just looking at the fact that for so long Jalen Suggs was supposed to be like the Kyle Lowry replacement because he was the best point guard available at where they were drafting.
Isn't Van Vliet supposed like unless he doesn't play point guard, but I think that was
He's
my
more of like
understanding.
he's like a scoring, like he's like an undersized shooting guard. Like he could play like the backup point guard minutes, but it's more of like they have that backcourt.
We're good,
Okay.
guys.
Okay.
Okay, we're
First
good.
off, before we keep going,
Yeah.
can we just? Where did it go?
You lost it.
Can we just, for a second, check out the YouTube portion? Because I'm looking at the Coyotes retro. Like, seriously,
Cactus.
come on, Daniel. Like, look at how cool
Cactus.
I don't
that
know.
is.
I don't know. The bottom
so
part. Okay,
cool.
no, it's not.
Cactus.
If it was all purple on the front of the like, if there wasn't the cactus with like the orange and the mountains in the bottom, I would like it a lot more. I think it would look a lot cleaner because it kind of looks like a fake jersey to me.
No, it looks cool. It's creative because there's nothing in the league. The cactus adds depth to it. It looks cool. This is the best jersey that has ever existed in sports. What are you talking? I don't like.
What? Do not say that about the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim.
No, this is better. Look at
What?
the mask. Look how
No.
cool that is. It's
Yeah, but
so
they didn't have a movie about this.
What? Yeah, great. Gordon Bombay was an alcoholic who got to like train kids. That doesn't make sense. It wasn't
It's a
realistic.
redemption story.
Redemption. It was completely terrible.
You know what it reminds me of? You know those Alex, remember, you know those old Maple Leaf jerseys when you got as kids and then it would still also say Maple Leafs all around, like everywhere?
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminded me of that.
This does.
Yeah.
Would you,
It does.
Daniel? Look at it. It's purple. It's like it has a hockey mask. It looks so cool.
Yeah, we're gonna have to put up a poll. You guys have to share the
I'll
poll.
share the poll. You put it up.
And
while
can we
I'm
just
editing
use this as like a clip? Like this is for like tomorrow or something. Just can we have a debate about like sexy this jersey is? Because it's so nice.
I will make a specific TikTok clip for what do you think of this?
It's such a
You have
nice.
to add the part where I talk about the Mighty Ducks because
Okay.
But no,
That's gonna get the
you
hits.
want me? Yeah, I was just gonna put the picture and add some music and make it look cool. But if you
I mean,
okay, we can do both.
It's just better than everything that could ever happen.
Okay.
To the world.
We
And
have
even the regular Kachinas like look
I love that's the Phil Castle.
anyway.
All right.
probably gonna be traded.
So the Coyotes have $9.8 million in cap space because it's amazing. Because the trades they've been making.
Yeah, the second round picks.
They have 2 firsts, and of 32 selections in the second round next year, they have 5 of them. Also, look at the additional picks they have later in 23 and 24.
Yeah.
But then we're going to have a look at their roster now. Their goalies are Josef Coroner, who's this young goalie from San Jose they got. Carter Hutton.
They signed last night.
Yes, Connor Timmins, who's around there. They have 4 defensemen under contract from the main roster. Labushkin, Gostis Bear, Chikarin, and Strawman, who was a cap dump. Only 2 of them have contracts after this year. And then when we look at the forwards, it's okay, so these aren't real people. Liam O'Brien, Fisher's all right. When did they sign Ryan DeZinkel?
Yesterday.
Oh,
Like-
yeah, for
Look at this. Look at these. Johan Larson is around still. Lawson Krause, young guy. And then it's like Beagle, Roussel, Dmitry Yaskin is still in the league. Christian Dvorak, go and get him Montreal. Andrew Ladd's there. Has to play like a single game to meet the condition of that pick. Schmaltz is just around there. Erickson, Kessler, who they want to trade, and poor Clayton Keller. They're not Buffalo bad, but they're there.
They have They have a couple decent players, and then they're going to trade Kessel.
yeah.
So Mike has a theory on why they're doing it like this. Why they have so much cap space.
Because they're poor?
No, because they're going to try to sign Austin Matthews.
I knew it. I heard that. Yeah.
So what's funny is they have a grand total of 5 players signed after this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, go ahead and try and sign Matthews.
They can offer him I honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised if they tried to offer him the
8 years
max.
max.
Yeah.
And it's like the rumors are going to be out there too. There will be tampering without tampering. Naturally.
I'll run myself through a wall if they do it. Honestly.
Can we clip that?
No.
What would you do if Austin Matthews signed with the Arizona Coyotes?
And the Leafs got nothing for him?
Well, yeah, if it's a UFA thing, obviously. If he leaves and goes to the Coyotes.
I would be sad.
No.
I would be devastated. I would scream.
Alex would become a
like
basketball
you thought
fan.
my rants were bad before. It would get worse. You thought me complaining about Cody Ceci was bad. It would be worse.
Well,
It is dark outside.
Really?
Yeah.
they're recording at 6.
Yeah.
You've been recording for, well,
Daniel-
with the exception of our break in between, it was 3
Daniel
hours.
predicted 10, so
Yeah. So it's not bad.
Daniel, since you got that right, you want to do the outro?
All right. Well, guys, this was fun. We've been recording for quite some time today. So, Voice Ed, thank you again for being an excellent platform for us. Remember to check out Adam's videos. I believe you had one today. Yes?
Yesterday, but yeah.
Yesterday, yes.
Stuff, yeah.
Yes, on Logan Mayu. So we'll see how that goes. Check out Alex's blog. Check out myself for CGRU and the Hockey Writers. And next episode, we're probably going to look at even more crazy signings, even more, hopefully more trades. I'm looking forward to the trades.
so am I.
We'll probably
Yes.
now it's probably once a week, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, we're looking into that.
Unless some craziness happens,
But we know the listeners love it all. So remember to check out this episode, all of the old episodes on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter, and especially on Facebook.
oh my god, you and Facebook.